now, the UK authorities are keeping an eye on 23andMe. Genomics is an industry with something to say on everything, even dating.
Chris Cook there. Joining me now is the Joint Associate Director of the European Bioinformatics Institute, Ewan Birney, and the philosopher, Paula Boddington, who was a member of the Emerging Science and Bioethics Advisory Committee. Evening to you both. Ewan, you're the only person in this room who's actually done this. What did you find out about yourself?
I found out quite a lot about my ancestry, or at least parts of where my genes came from. And actually quite a few scientists around the world have done it. It's been available for some time in America, and it's been fun.
Fun. Did you do the health bit? Because they've taken the health bit out of the American proposition, haven't they?
So when I did it, the health bit was still in. This is my field of research, so I did take the health bit with quite a lot of salt, quite a few pinches of salt. And it was interesting. From a technical perspective, it was very nice to be able to genotype yourself so easily. I downloaded my data, I played around with it on my laptop. It was quite nice to be able to do that, but that's rather geeky.
And is it odd just learning some of the sort of frivolous stuff that you can apparently learn, like whether you are genetically predisposed not to smell asparagus in urine, and then read another thing about whether you are predisposed to Alzheimer's or serious conditions?
There is something, that's the way some of the research just falls out that way, but we can use genetics to study all sorts of different things. There is something a bit odd having them. They are on separate pages. But I think that one of the key things about this is that this is an example of one of the ways that we're going to be using genetics in the future, not necessarily via this company, but in the future I think all of us are very likely to have our genome sequenced and used in healthcare and all other sorts of things.
Paula Boddington, you have concerns, so let's go through them. What would be your biggest concern with this?
Well, first you would say I have concerns. There are things that people need to think about very carefully. And you started off by saying Christmas is coming up and perhaps this would be a good gift for people.
I was being sarcastic, by the way.
Well,
I was being semi-sarcastic.
Yes,
but
semi-sarcastic, but
yeah.
it did flash through my mind to wonder why they'd chosen to launch it now, because it is just when people are starting their online shopping for Christmas. And whilst my concern is not to tell people what they should and shouldn't do, I think it's probably a good idea to think very carefully about whether this would be a very good gift for somebody else. Because if you're going to be doing this, you need to sit and think through.
It's a serious step.
You need to sit and think through. And that's one of my concerns, for people to think carefully about how it's packaged online by 23andMe. Because you can look at the sort of, for trivial ones like curly hair, you presumably know if you have curly hair. Male pattern baldness, which might be less trivial if you're a teenage boy. Whether or not you're going to have an excuse not to eat Brussels sprouts. Yes, can I just... So you could look at those and think, oh, this is fun. But you need to look at the most serious part of it, I think, and really think to yourself, how would I feel if I came back with a raised risk for Alzheimer's?
But there's a similar concerns arise, don't they, with all sorts of tests for conditions, HIV tests, or a number of other things, don't they? So,
yes.
By and large, there's no worry, is there, about letting people make up their own mind as to whether they would like to know or not know? Is there a concern there that runs deeper?
There's no concern about letting people make up their own minds. It's their own information. But you mentioned HIV tests. If someone's going for an HIV test, then usually they will have some reason to be concerned, and they will have thought about it, and they'll get it in the medical context. Whereas this, my precise concern that people should think about, it is not in a medical context. We had on this little clip just now asking, aren't you worried about people finding out that they have a risk for cancer by opening a letter? And the response was, it's not a letter, you find out online, which seems to miss the point. It seems to miss the point.
Is there a worry, Ewan, about the data? Where is your data? You had the test done. Where is the data sitting? Because, who knows what happens to your data if it's not in your own back pocket?
That's true. I have downloaded it to the laptop, but I'm sure there's a copy in California somewhere. And I think the genome data is one type of personal data, along with my Facebook and Google account and my credit cards and my bank accounts and everything else. And so there's nothing really deeply... a lot of that data in many ways is much more personal to me than my genome.
Really?
Yes, I think so. Absolutely.
Is it? Do you think
I think you'll learn a
your
lot
Facebook
more.
data and your genome, are they all just like bits of data? Your Tesco club card or your...
Well, Tesco, yes. Tesco know a lot about lots of people. But
Exactly.
Yes.
They probably know. I mean, it's probably much more informative if I had your Tesco club card details. I probably know a lot more about you than if I had your genome. So this business of there are many data sets in this world on individuals which are able to pinpoint you precisely from your mobile phone through your bank records to something else. And genome data is just one in this very big class. And I do think we should have protections around how that data is used. We should have protections for genomic data, but also protections for these other complex data sets.
Yes, I do agree, except that I'd also add that it means different things for different people. So that for some people would have a different view about what was the most important private data. So for some people, your genome data would be particularly important.
Basically, take it seriously.
Yes. And if you want to do this, there's a 5,000 plus word privacy policy on their website. But if you were particularly interested in your genetic privacy, read that very carefully.
Paula Boddington, Ewan Birney, thanks both.